Evening, yeah, wrong uns, or plural rather than singular. Parish notes to start, of course. Oh, hang on, that'll do. We'll get to your comments in a moment. And I'm going to make some notes. We have a few questions this evening. I'm very interested to find out your take on things, how they've been happening over the last few days. Not quite sure how long the live's going to last this evening, because it's been a very, 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 very busy weekend, and lots of stuff going on. And I haven't been able to prepare adequately, in my view, for this evening's live. I'm going to do my best for you, but I'm not sure how long it'll last for. Maybe you will take it off in a different direction. Who knows? But either way, it's live number 170. It's live. And we kind of get our feet under the table from about 5 to the hour, so that we can kind of get into it at bang on 8 o'clock this evening. What was I going to say to you? It's been a busy old weekend. So I have the hibiscus, and I'll tell you more about hibiscus in a second. And I've actually got a big mug of coffee tonight because I'm just knackered. Not to kind of give you an insight into my life or anything, because there's more important things to talk about. But I had to, how can I say this without being indelicate about it? I had to go around a garden centre today. I've definitely turned into me dad. I mean, I'm far too young for that. But looking at kind of human beings going around. So it sort of falls into two categories, I think. There are those who know what they're doing, and there are those who don't know what they're doing. I'm not going to tell you which one I fall into, but I was looking at all the lads. Women have a thing, and I think it's an eye for beauty. I get that, male artists and chefs and stuff, their ability to create has been legendary since the dawning of man. But women in garden centres, they know what's what. So it's kind of it's like a lad code, I think. You kind of see somebody else and you know what they're feeling, you know what they're going through, because they're either being nagged or they're being told, you got that wrong, you did this wrong, and you just kind of look at each other and nod. It is a thing, I'm telling you, because I witnessed it today, and I was kind of nodding at other men, not in that way, of course, because I'm not like that, but I was just kind of nodding. It was I feel your pain, brother. And they were looking at me, I feel your pain, brother. And, when questions are asked, it's just like, I don't know. I'm not a bloody flower gardener. I grow things to eat. And so if you know what I'm talking about, it's a whole full-blown conversation. Maybe it's a full live that we could have. But it's a thing. It is a thing. Men grow food. Women look at the beauty of the garden. That's all I'm going to say. Ne'er the twain shall meet, and the women were en masse in that garden centre that I was in today, and all the lads were getting it tight. Just tell them, yeah, me cucumbers do grow that big. Yeah, wrong. So anyway, we're a bit light on staff this evening in the body of the kirk because they've all naffed off to Rome. I'm not quite sure whether it's a working holiday or a busman's holiday, but they're going because they said they've got to support the Cardinals. Quite what the choir boys are up to, I'm not sure. They're not there for singing, that's for sure. And anyway, we'll talk about Chief Paedophile in just a little while, or the new one, for that matter. Oh, hello. What's going on there? We have machinery starting of its own accord. I'd be blowed. From the chair, Evening Adrian was watching a YouTube video the other day about ghostly sightings in BBC radio stations. Have you got any stories? I've got bloody loads from the chair. Loads. We didn't we? Do you know? Hang on a second. I'm just writing this down simply because we did a ghost program in at BBC Radio Cleveland as it was then, BBC Radio Tees as it is now. And it's a bit legendary, really. We went into a disused mine in the area in the northeast, Teesside, and yes, I have stories. So we'll do some. If you want me to put the willies up, yeah, I'll do that in the chair. Sorry, I'll get the name right. From the chair. Let me do that. I can't remember the mine we went to. Kilvington? Is that? It's a disused mine on Teesside. We might talk about that. So if you want me to put the willies up you tonight, I'm the man. What other? I mean, I've seen some very ashen-faced presenters in the BBC. But yeah, we'll do that in a little while. Thank you from the chat. Stuart, evening, Rev, and Sister Mary has asked, could we all keep the noise down because she's got a stinking hangover? She's ordered a meat feast from Domino's and would like to eat it alone to cure her hangover. No, Mars bars and Coca-Cola. That's if you ever want to do a radio show, you have to present it, and you go out on the lash. In fact, it was a Heineken music festival in Preston, and I remember enough about it to know that it was there was free Heineken. I mean, boy from the northeast, free beer, it's going to get messy, and it did. But the following morning, I was doing mid-mornings on Rock FM, starting at 10 o'clock. I don't think I got to bed till about 5 in the morning, and one of the engineers there said, "Here, eat that, drink that." I said, "What's that?" Mars a day helps you work, rest, and play. I wonder who wrote that. So I ate 3 of those, and then I had a couple of cans of Coke, the drink, and it was God blimey. I felt a completely different person, and now I kind of swear by it. I mean, you can have your greasy food and stuff, but if in doubt, Mars bar it out. You're wrongin'. Ask Marianne Faithful. So thank you, Stuart. I'll keep some by for Sister Mary first thing in the morning. Leeds, good evening, Adrian. We have our parade tomorrow in Leeds City Centre. 250,000 people expected. Hope Sunderland win the playoffs. They've got no bloody chance, Leeds. Absolutely not. So congratulations. You have been one of the best sides. You, Burnley and Sheffield United deserve that 1, 2 and 3. For the moment. I mean, some of the Sunderland fans are going, look, we would have taken 4th at the beginning of the season, but 5 defeats on the bounce, and we're going to go and play Frank Lampard's Coventry in the playoffs. We'll get beat at home, we'll get beaten at their place, and they'll go and play Sheffield United in the playoff finals. I cannot even, and the rumour is, Leeds, that we're having to have a game behind doors, closed doors on Tuesday, to get people match fit. That's how desperate we are at Sunderland. But enjoy your parade tomorrow. It's not that often you win a league, so, you know, I hope you have a fabulous day. I hope the sun shines for you. And I hope that bloody Labour government doesn't start seeding the clouds and, oh Jesus. And it starts raining. So, Leeds, enjoy tomorrow. Tom Harney's evening all. How nice that 2-tier Kia is going harder and faster after the other day, or is that Lord Ali that is going harder and faster, or is it Lord Ali that's going harder and faster? Well, what can I say? What can I say? Les Griffiths, plenty of stuff to talk about tonight. Serious matters, both domestic and foreign. Hope Lucy Powell is discussed. Oh, Les Griffiths, Lucy Powell. Tell me more. The reason why I may be a little light this evening, and that's not my not being a little broader in the beam, shall we say, is simply because I haven't had time. I've had to do domestic things like go around garden centres, otherwise I'm a dead man. And all I can do tonight is drink coffee and laugh. So come on, Les, me and you, let's get it started tonight. Or Let's Get This Party Started. Who sang that? Was it the Black Eyed Peas? Des Ashton, what a lovely night for whipping out your Battenberg and waving it around and not getting arrested for it, Des. Hang on. Viv Kenyon. Oh, hello. Viv from Darlow. Well, evening ranting Rev and all you wrong-uns. Missed Wednesday as up to no good, but promised to catch up, ready and waiting in my pew for beer, banter and Battenberg. Viv in Darlow. Hang on a second. Did we did too? Viv, have you not watched Thursday? Oh, I say. Thursday was a little lively, and all I can say is for those that have not watched Thursday, there's a bit of information in there that I haven't gotten around to kind of editing or doing for you, and I will let you know once I've done that. Just because it's nuts busy, and I say now it's getting a little cool. Actually, going back to, I'm thinking on 6 or 7 different levels here, just to give you a. Should we talk about? Oh, well, it's not ghosts. Ghosts, it's energy, it's spirit, it's I don't know, God. I don't know what it is, but I had a conversation today with the new Mrs. Allen, and I mentioned one of my heroes, who's an uncle that sadly passed with cancer, and I just mentioned him in speaking. And that was first thing this morning, and I was just in passing, a passing comment. He just popped into my head, and I was blah 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 blah. So we go out and we do the thing, and we have to sit down for a cup of coffee and a bun because it's hard work in garden centres, let me tell you. And as a little aside, are you aware that garden centres had to hire security because the pensioners were going in with like secateurs? They were going in and taking cuttings from stuff in garden centres. Rather than buy the plants and taking them home, they were taking cuttings, propagating them, potting them on, and then stick them in the ground. And, and I was just pointing out that those bloody pensioners, they're worse than the kids. So I was talking about my hero, my uncle that I love dearly. And he was a better dad to me than my own father. But anyway. When I was just getting into commercial radio, at Radio Tees as it was in the Northeast and then TFM, I was presenting the afternoon show and fan my brow if he's not listening. Now, I didn't know where in the country he was, but he was listening to the show. So he said, go on, play us a tune, as you do. Because everybody loves a mention on the radio, proper radio, and everybody loves a tune. So I thought, what can he's older than me, he's probably in the Mantovani or something. I'll play him the Pet Shop Boys. West End Girls, because it was on the playlist. It was I had to play it because computer spits out everything for commercial radio, and I played it. So this morning I mentioned him. I had a chat with the new Mrs. Allen. Blah 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 blah, and we sat down for this coffee and a bun. After the hard work of deciding what colour plants we're gonna have in garden, in windowsill and stuff, and Pet Shop Boys, West End Girls comes on the radio. And I kind of stole myself. And I said to her, do you know we were talking about so-and-so earlier this morning? Yeah, and I told her the story of being... in fact, I think it was the first week of me doing afternoons on Radio Tees, which was 1984. And I said, I played him this song on the radio. Now, that could be deemed either Ghosts in the Machine or spirit having a laugh, or just coincidence. But as Dr. Who said, in the universe, timey-wimey, there's no such thing as coincidence. So I don't know whether he's kind of up there. He's gone and he's been healed from his cancer, and now he's looking down, going, "Oi, you wrong'un, have this." So I don't know whether you've had that before, whether you've had a coincidence and it kind of just sends the chills down your spine, sends the hairs on the back of your neck up, and you go, ooh, hello, what's that then? It's a bit like you think of someone and then the phone rings and it's them. Or you think about them and they pop up, so to speak. So I don't know whether you've had any... we can talk coincidences tonight. Oh, bloody look at all these. Lucy Powell MP referred to calls for action on behalf of victims of organised rape gangs as old trumpet calls and dog whistling. Oh, my dear. Oh, well, we'll talk about Lucy. Thank you, Les. Let me just make a note, because I can feel my dander rising. Sandra Wytham, you're going to get to the playoff finals, man. And you're going to beat... well, it's going to be a tight match between you and Coventry City. It's not Sunderland. It's not, man. We're shite. In the most monstrous way. Awful and horrible way. We've had 5 defeats on the bounce. And they're expecting us to beat Coventry City. We haven't beaten Coventry City legitimately in 50 years. The last time we had... I've got the... Oh, it's in my phone. I can't. But we were looking at the last 10 meetings. Last 10 meetings with Coventry City. 5 defeats and 5 draws. And we couldn't hit a cow's arse with a banjo. So, trust me, we're not going to win. Unless, obviously, there's a betting scandal going on. What? No. Football corrupt? Never. Right, Stuart. Thoughts on Ginger Spherical's interview with the BBC? Stuart, we're definitely having a bit of that. I will tell you later. It involves IPP, Internationally Protected Person, involves drugs, and it involves names. And I'm going to name the names and the drugs and the IPP. You think I'm not? Oh, you bet your sweet bippy. Nicola Mooney. Hello, everyone. Hello, Nicola. First timer. So... anybody that's in the chat that wants to kind of say hello, or first time you're watching or listening, if you will, then I'll pop your cherry for you tonight, because we do that with virgins. Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? Definitely did. Les Griffiths, they aren't ghosts, just echoes of the past. But Les, how can you explain? Like I say, have I... in fact, I'll tell you some stories. Simply, honestly... just because I would like an answer to this, because I genuinely don't have an answer, but I have things that I've seen in dreams, and they've come true. So let's talk about coincidences. We can kind of interwove that in amongst the serious stuff, because it's just a little light-hearted relief. Nothing better. I'll use my hands, so then it could be deemed executive hand relief. Did you watch the Channel 4 programme on grooming, says Phil Levan? Oh, yes, I've watched it twice. Did I not mention that on Thursday? You see, it's coming out now. I can tell who watched and didn't watch on Thursday. But the programme is called Groomed. Let me just... Groomed the National Scandal. It's on Channel 4. And I will say this to start about it. You know how Tia Kia, that queer as folk bloke, queer Kia, he watched Adolescence and said, oh, we should have everyone in schools watching this. Well, that bloke has not got a bloody clue, because I believe that Groomed, the National Scandal, should be shown in every single school and repeated endlessly on loop for Labour Party MPs, no matter the hue. And that's H-U-E, not H-U-W. Simply because... and the first time I watched it, I had to stop it 3 times, because it's harrowing. I got into a spat and an argument on X, because some arse decided that me saying Pakistani rape gangs, well, they're not Pakistani, they're of English origin. So, if you're a Catholic... doesn't matter what nationality, you're a good Catholic. If you're Pakistani, you're Pakistani. And let me tell you something else that I mentioned on Thursday night. And this is not racist whatsoever. It's the etymology of the word Pakistan. You know what the etymology comes from, don't you? Stan, as in land of the tribe of Paki. I mean... so people will turn around and go, oh, you're being racist. I think you'll find I'm not. Do you know what etymology is? It's the breakdown of the word and the history and meaning of the word. So go and have a look at the etymology. It'll tell you that Pakistan is broken down into the land of the tribe of the Paki. This is why people who think they're clever will start arguing with you. But the minute you turn around and actually give them truth, they can't handle it because it's not, they didn't expect that, somebody with an education. So this man or person, whomever it was, thought they were being clever. I did exactly the same thing to him that Farage and Reform did to the Labour Party. I handed him his arse back on a plate because, well, I don't need to go into an argument with you because you kind of get this. But so if you haven't, please put aside 71 minutes of your time this week, because even on the second time when I watched it, I couldn't. It just makes me angry that we as an organised society somehow can't protect kids. Now, I deem children until they leave school at 16. If you want to be more accurate, until they get their vote at 18. Up until then, not only do we have to protect people within society, as a societal mass, we also have to protect them from themselves. And what do I mean by that? Look, young girls, when they get into their teens, every dad, or even mum for that matter, will know when you have a little girl, they get to about 5 or 6 year old and they're going on 35. They're just clever. But as a young woman grows into womanhood, and there are predatory men, irrespective of their religious leaning or their culture, there are always predatory men. So, and I am aware and have experience of some stories to do with children in care and girls in care. I mean, why do you think there have been? How can I put this without getting myself into any legal trouble? There are VIP paedophiles who know that if you're going to be predatory, you have to be around the children. You have to groom them. Now, the thing that I disagree with wholeheartedly is the fact that people, and they are the people, the decision makers, are calling these men grooming gangs. They're not. They're rapists. It is not only because they have to. One girl was injected with heroin in this documentary, and some of them were plied with massive amounts of alcohol. So drugs, whether it be weed or heroin or whatever, and then they were plied with alcohol, and then they were passed around in one night. One girl was passed around 11 men. So this is a situation that we need to have an adult conversation about in this country. And we need to have an honest adult conversation. And we need to have that conversation around protecting those that need protecting from themselves, not only predatory males. And Fergie, the fat one, she's come out. Finally, she's got the toes out of her mouth. And she said, we're having to protect our children from online things. I won't go into any more and quote her. Les, thank you. Now, because we're having an adult conversation here on this live, I want you to be aware of the sensibilities of using certain words. I can say the word paedophile because I'm never going to monetize this. So I can use more accurate terminology, but I would imagine that stuff like the word sex and paedophiles and rapists, you'll find that your comments disappear. So as Les has done, please try and find a way around that. Otherwise, I won't be able to either respond to your comments. But as I say, I'm not monetizing this live at all. I never do. So that these stay as an historical record, and they YouTube just won't allow me to use those words. So I have to not monetize the lives to be able to use truth and fact in my lives. Hayden says, yes, we need to have a conversation without being accused of hate crime by the authorities. Andy Thomas says rape, torture and murder gangs is what it is. Adam Whale says rape gangs, a bad bunch. Yep. Lionel Layton, unrehearsed. In my lifetime, children didn't come of age till 21, which is a very valid point. I seem to remember, 16 you can go and work, 18 you can go and vote, and 21 you get the key to the door. But if you haven't, I'm trying to think, I don't know whether we have the adult conversation this evening about this, but if I say, no, we'll have the adult conversation this evening, because if it's been on for 5 days, I told you on Thursday night, I went into it, but not to give you any spoilers. We can have a conversation around it tonight, because I believe that this would be one of the very few places that you would be able to say what you think about things and the situation. Because what I'd like to do this evening is get into Farage and reform and the political sphere, but also deal with some horrible, horrible, horrible things happening in our midst, in our community, in our society. You and I. What did Alan say? Les Griffiths, it's not hate crime, it's uncomfortable truths. I completely agree with you, Les. Lauren Taylor, and it still goes on. Soul Rebel, can't watch Groomed, too upsetting. Agreed. Soul Rebel, completely agreed. And that's why first time I watched it on my own, and literally within 10 minutes I had to stop it. I had to stop and go for a walk, just get my head back together again. Because I don't know about you, but it makes me angry. It makes me want to go fighting, and I'm not a violent man. That's why I've done martial arts for 20 odd years. It soothes my soul and calms me down. I'm not the kind of guy to go fighting, but if any of my family are threatened, or my home is threatened, or me personally is threatened, here, gloves off. I don't need boxing gloves on the end of my arms. But no. Stuart says, just type the words in code. So I am sure, knowing the audience that come and watch this live, that a lot of people are very angry. So let's juxtapose what we're talking about with the vote on Thursday. The political establishment, the parasitical classes, the Conservatives, the Lib Dems, the Labour Party, they had no idea what was going on. They're looking at the voting going, 677 reform councillors from nowhere. So the man and woman on the street, and I'll tell you, the moment that things changed in this country, you know what I'm going to say? It's only one word: Southport. It changed everything. It changed the way the man and woman on the street looks at politics. It changed the way the man and woman on the street saw what was happening to them and how they were being treated. And the truth was the truth. And the truth came out, and we knew what the truth was. And yet the political classes were against the man and woman on the street. And that was evidenced by their actions. So staying on topic, because we will get to Sir Keir Starmer, I'm telling you, his political career is finished. Finished. Over. Done. The Labour Party, we witnessed the death of it on Thursday. They're not coming back from this. If you think they are, here, you need to get off the coffee. Talking of which. Herding Cat says, absolutely, yes, it did. Southport changed everything in this country. The lockdowns were very similar. We went through, and I mentioned this on Thursday, we went through extraordinary circumstances because we were being told by the same political classes, you've got to take the jibba jabber, you're all going to die, and the unjibba jabbered are going to kill people. So the unjibba jabbered are going to kill people. Let's have a look then. The jibber jabber actually killed people. I had a friend in BBC Radio, and her death was directly attributed to the jibber jabber. And I still can't mention it on here. Can you not remember what they were telling us? Oh, you need to stay indoor. You need to rattle your pots and pans. And then after 6 months, oh, well, you can go outside again, but you can only go outside if you've got a dog. You can only take the dog for a walk. So people were like, can I borrow your dog? Why? I just want to walk up I just want to go and see some trees and some grass. And I will tell you, absolutely, categorically, because I saw it with these. There were massive parties going on. I won't tell you where or when or how. That's as much as I'm going to tell you. But I saw it with these. Massive parties outdoors. And the Rozzers, they didn't have the manpower. They still don't have the manpower. They didn't put the army on the streets. Can you imagine what would have happened then? But let's get back to Groomed. Because literally, these two subjects we can talk about for the next 24 hours. Alan says, bloke fell off his ladder, still went down as even though he broke his leg, it was a Charlie 19 issue. Tom Harney's, imagine how many councillors Reform would have had if Labour had let the whole country vote. I know, Tom. That's one of the points I was going to make tonight. What we saw on Thursday was a sea change of the man and woman on the street, the working man and woman, if you wish, the voting man and woman who absolutely, categorically have had enough. They've had enough of the bullshit. They've had enough of the lies. They've had enough of the corruption. They've had enough of Westminster deciding what's going to happen with us, me and you, without any consultation with us. The last time they consulted us was 2016, and look what happened to them. They shit themselves. And David Cameron, well, technically he lost his political career. He had to step aside. Adam Waite, there were big VE Day celebrations. That's tomorrow, isn't it? Bank holiday Monday? Stuart says you can't go to a pub or a restaurant unless you're jabbed. How they got away with that, I never know. And eat out to help out. So, by the way, we're killing people with the jibber jabber. And again, every time I see this, I will justify it by saying that a coroner directly attributed, a friend of mine, a presenter in radio in Newcastle, directly attributed her death to the jibber jabber. So that's the example that I will use every single time, so that no one, including these idiots in Westminster, can say you can't say that. Well, I think you'll find I can, because I've just justified the information within that statement to be the coroner's justification, not mine. Reg D, killed by shedding. Adam Whale, and they want their bins collected. Quite. Jackie Glasgow, I felt like a fugitive going to and from my sons on my mobility scooter. Yeah, technically you could go, well, for a while we couldn't go out. Les Grifter says, frankly, anyone obeying those stupid mandates shouldn't be allowed out unsupervised. Didn't it get to a point where the morons, the scum-sucking pond life, went out and bought all these bog rolls so that nobody could buy any bog rolls because we were getting locked down? I mean, I know they had to buy all of those toilet rolls because they're so full of shit. They needed that many. And then it got to a point where you had, they had the emergency workers who were working 24 hours, 7 days a week. That included hospitals and firemen and police, firemen and women and policemen and women and ambulance drivers and the NHS. So all the blue lights couldn't get into the supermarkets, and the supermarkets had to open at a specific time, and you had to show your blue light ID so that you could get into the supermarkets. It was getting that silly. There were nurses who were working their butts off, and there was no food in the supermarkets for them. I remember one video of one woman, a nurse, sitting in her car saying, I've just finished a 12-hour shift, and I came to the supermarket to buy some food, and there's nothing left. And I couldn't leave to come out and buy food because I'm in hospital treating the very people that's suffering. And thankfully, the supermarkets, now we can all remember this, thankfully the supermarkets came out and said, right, Sunday morning, you can't buy anything before 10 o'clock. So they opened for the blue lights from 9 till 10 on a Sunday. And I think Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, all the supermarkets kind of got together and agreed. So the blue lights would go in. And my local supermarket, you should have seen the amount of people in there. I mean, I'm sure they all flashed their blue lights. Hang on. So that's an example of, because I'm going to get back to Southport, that's an example of where we were let down by those we entrusted and looked to them because they have the power, the insight, and they brought in emergency powers and they said it's for your benefit. I mean, a politician lying? No, surely not. Bojo the Clown, and he wants to come back. Here, mate, Foxtrot Oscar. We saw you 5 years ago having your beers and having the parties, and Rich Boy, and Sunak, and Tuti Ikea, and all of them. They were at it. They were telling us one thing and doing another. We're never going to let them back in because the people of this country are trusting and open and accepting of others that come to this island. And yet the politicians, they absolutely bent us over and rogered us without any lube. We all had to take whatever they were saying. And there's Bojo in that fucking haircut. Somebody shave that bastard head of his and get rid of that fucking hair. Because honestly, that alone makes me angry enough because he looks like a cunt. Or caring, understanding 90s type, if you wish. Forgive my language, but that man is an absolute clown. Let him go, and let's wonder where he got his millions from. Not his dad, evidently. And where did his dad make his money from with HS2? Did I say that out loud? You didn't see me bloody lips move, did you? They're all corrupt. But they were saying that they were doing it for our benefit. It was to protect us. And it was the unjibber-jabber you had to worry about because they were going to transmit this Charlie 19 and it was going to kill everybody. Look, I had an argument, and I'm not going to go any further with detail, other than I had an argument on my front step. You should take the jibber-jabber because it will protect other people. Well, bugger me sideways. It was the jab that were killing people. Not the un-jibber-jabbered. So Nicola Mooney correctly says we were sucked in back then. I'm not having that term associated with me and Bojo. He's not sucking me in anywhere. But so we get to Southport and we're already aware. We're already, notice how, and you're the same in the comments. Viv Kenyon says, let the ranting begin. Love it. Oh, if you want a ranty one tonight, I've definitely got it in me. Thankfully, not Starmer's. Marley says, so damn relieved I didn't have the jibber jabber, but they're getting us in other ways through frog symbol on coffee, spraying the air. Yeah. And now they're gonna block the sun for climate change. These people are, and it's a technical term that we use in radio, fucking evil. All of them. So this is, I've told you how it works. So governments send money abroad. Send money abroad. NGOs, non-governmental organisations, send money abroad. And then what happens? Brown envelopes. Not brown trousers. That was President Shitty Pants. They then put the money back into the politician's trouser pocket and they have deniability. So we have seen the corruption writ large in front of us. And once we got through lockdowns and Charlie 19 and the jibber jabber, I mean, did you go? I had Charlie 19 at one point. And look, I'm not going to mess about. I was scared because of the fear porn that's on the Groove Tube and the newspapers. And I continually tell you, don't believe anything you read in the newspapers, because I am going to talk about it tonight. The timing, as I keep telling you, don't believe anything you see in the newspapers, because it's all bullshit. All of it. David fucking Beckham. What? 50-year-old birthday party. He's had dozens and dozens and dozens of pages of reportage talking about his fucking son. Here, mate, I've had enough. You're a weft puppet, aren't you, David? Mate! You and your fucking plastic missus. Twat! Beckham's being manipulated. He's being bought off because he's that desperate to have a knighthood. He literally would do anything, including going to a fucking Diddy party. Now, David, mate, we know that all the blacks were shagging all the men. Care to comment, mate? Come on, David, have you had Diddy's cock up your arse? Just asking for a friend? Ask any of the Man U supporters who used to sing it in the ground. Posh takes it up the arse. That soon cooled off. So I got Charlie 19. And because of all the stuff, and we were being told, you'll die. You'll die. Everybody's going to die. The new Mrs. Allen got it first. And I'm sure you will agree with me. When you see a loved one suffering, it's the most awful feeling in the world. And I watched for a week, 10 days. And I'm telling you this and I'm being honest with you. I would have killed. I don't suggest that I'm a hard man by any stretch of the imagination, but what I'm saying to you, and I'm probably saying exactly the same that you felt, when it's somebody that you love dearly, it's a different thing completely. And then, I mean, we joked about it at the time. She has the Charlie 19, and I'm honestly just... I look shit in a nurse's uniform, to be fair. Then we had the conversation, and the conversation was, oh, have you got it as well? What do you mean? Well, you've got the symptoms. What, me? Yeah, you need to go to one of those car park things. And it was like some dystopian nightmare. I had to go to this car park. Now, she was allowed in the car because she'd already had it. So she had a 6 months grace. And we drove to this car park, designated car park, where people were like plastic visors and hazmat gear. And I'm saying to her, look, man, I haven't. She says, you have. And the woman in the car was like, just let your window down a touch. Why? What are you going to throw in the car, you wrong? Bombs? And she was like, no. Oh, sorry. I'll have to acknowledge the O-Bovril because basically, stacks of rude words, £2 in the swear box. I'm going to be in debt for the rest of my life, the amount I've sworn tonight. And we had to let the window down. And the woman was like, don't come near me. I was like, hang on. You're supposed to be the bloody medical professional. I'm here to find out whether I'm going to die, you wrong'un. And she's like, well, we'll just, you've got to stick this up your nose and the back of your throat. And I'm like, look, that's why I'm a straight guy. I can't put anything to the back of my throat without choking. And do this and do this and do this. And obviously, the new Mrs. Allen was, this is before we were even Mr. and Mrs. Allen. And we were, Soul Rebel, ranting is the Rev's cough cure. Cough! 2 hands, please. So, if you know, you know. So we kind of did that and I put it in a tube and I genuinely, I sat there and I thought, I could be about to die here. And all I've done is stayed in the bloody house. And then I started, I'd been watching the shenanigans from next slide. Now, we went into lockdown and everybody had a sense of humour. Everybody. And then we didn't, because it was serious. And you could literally time it. You could start your watch by it, where people suddenly got a grasping of, oh shit, this might be serious. Because it'll happen to somebody else. It happens to somebody else in the news of the world, or it happens to somebody else in the Sun, in the newspapers. And the newspapers were injecting that fear porn hard. Oh, talking of which, Sakir Starmer, I'm going to go faster and harder. Oh, you monkey tart, we have to watch. Les Griffiths says, watch events unfold in America. RFK is on a roll. I know he is. He's not mucking about either. And so the establishment, the political establishment, they were having parties. You had, what's that idiot singer, female, who, it was her 30th birthday, and she organised a 30th birthday party in a restaurant when we were all in lockdown. And her PR team have managed that away. Well, she won't manage it away from me, because I'll never, ever, ever forget what she did. There were people who were just laughing at us. She had to take off to Australia for a couple of years because feelings were running that high. So we've got all this. Soul Rebel says, pots and pans every week in our street. It became a competition. I didn't join in, thankfully, now, after seeing nurses dancing. There is that. So when I say to you, don't believe anything that you read in the newspapers. The only thing that they get right is the price on the front of the paper. Newspaper for short. Rita Ora, thank you, Stuart. Yeah, that dippy mare. I'm going to have a 30th birthday party. Has a 30th birthday party with all of her chums and loads of alcohol while we're sat in the fucking house. Can't go out the door. Can't even take the bloody dog for a walk. Can you imagine those poor poochers? I want to go for a shit. No, you can't. You can stay in. We're all staying in. You can either try and use the toilet upstairs, or you'll just have to put a bung up your ass. You're not being taken out for a shite. But Rita Ora, she can have her mates round to a restaurant that she'd booked. Had to feck off to Australia for a couple of years. Don't forget Beth Rigby and the other one out on the town. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Nobody's asked them about it, have they? Is Beth Rigby a lesbian? Looks like one to me. Just in my view. Asking. My gaydar's kind of pinging. Les Griffith says, I told you last week, chemtrail pilots were on notice in America. It has escalated exponentially. We'll get to that in just a little while. So we've been through all of that as a collective, you and I as a community, the aligned, not the awake. We've gotten to a place where we absolutely saw through the bullshit. Saw it, all of it. We didn't laugh at it because it was one of those things that you just think. So we had to wear a mask on a plane to travel anywhere. Didn't want us travelling. They wanted us to have can you remember the digital ID that they wanted to bring in? China was told, you can Foxtrot Oscar. You're not doing that here. Or rather, you're not getting the contract for that here. Obviously, it's worth a few bob, few million. So they'll give it to somebody else. Michelle Moan. I'm being facetious. Lauren Taylor, didn't that Kay Burley once fly somewhere too? Yeah, she got out. And wasn't there an MP that was tested positive for Charlie 19 and then got on a train and left London and went to Glasgow? And nobody did anything about it. But I'll say this to you. When was the last time you saw a newspaper headline that says MP dies suddenly? Have you? Look at the royal family. I mean, we are going to talk about them tonight, but the royal family. I mean, if you were a Republican and you wanted to get rid of the royal family, what would you do? What they did. Bloody hell. The Queen went, sharpish, and then Charles the Week's got cancer. And what's the main problem with the jibber jabber? Turbo cancers. And look at Catherine, Princess of Wales. Now they're saying, the precancerous. I think you'll find they bloody weren't. But again, the propaganda peddlers are being told what to print because the government buy them off with advertising. It's really that simple. If you looked, I mean, the Mail yesterday, the Daily Mail yesterday, and the Mail on Sunday today. Holy Jesus. Have you seen all the holidays they're pushing? All the bits and pieces? Oh, buy your roses here. And there's like 20 pages of bloody advertising at the back of the newspaper. And you just think, oh, lads, you've been bought off. Again. So the royal family, they could have been taken out. Now, it costs about 30 grand to have your blood washed. Are you aware of this? Where you'll go to some clinic and they'll take all of your blood, because they're going to take whatever the jiba jabber puts in. You can have your blood washed, the spike proteins, to have the spike proteins taken out of your body. It takes 24, 48 hours, but it costs you 30 grand. So it's only available to the elite. But you've never had an MP die suddenly. But we've had bloody footballers keel over in the middle of a match, left, right and centre. We've had sports stars die from heart attacks. We've had sports stars die from turbo cancers. But you never see royals, or you never see the MPs, you never see the parasitical classes go, oh, bagger, there's Fred over there, keeled over, heart attack, bless him. None of that. And there was Bojo. Oh, yes, oh, well, I caught it. Yeah, I caught it. And, well, I was near death. Alan says, footballers on 100 grand a week. I know. 30 grand. Seriously. For fuck's sake, says Stuart. I'll say it for you, Stuart. Alan, Vix text, brought to you by Pfizer. So you are aware of the Pfizer game. Inject you. And then they go and buy a Canadian company. Sorry. Before I get to that, I'm just going to tell you, can you remember what you were told? 95% effective against Charlie 19. Remember that? They were all saying, yeah, 95% effective. Yeah, 94, 92, 85, 75. Fucking hell, it's under 50%. Can you remember all that? All the bullshit. They were wriggling so hard they couldn't lie straight in bed, some of these people. Big Pharma. It's just business. You're just a cash cow. We're just going to make cash out of you. Didn't you realise that? Yeah, we did. All of us. All of us. We now know what Big Pharma was up to because we didn't go back to sleep. That's the problem. So, and Pfizer, they bought a company, a Canadian company. Canadian company worth about 4 billion. Now, the kind of maxing back in the 90s when I was in a position to kind of do this. Normally, it's between 4 and 6 times turnover, the value of any company. So the value of this company, this Canadian company, was about 4 billion. What did this company do that Pfizer was after? They wanted to buy this Canadian company because they specialised in turbo cancers. They specialised in treatments for turbo cancers. And Pfizer bought this company. They didn't buy this company for 4 billion. They bought this company for $40 billion. Now imagine if you're buying a company for 10 times its value, imagine the shed load of profit you're going to make from it. So it's the old sales technique. It's really simple, and it's this. Create the need, fulfill it. Create the need, fulfill it. Create the need, fulfill it. That's what Big Pharma does for business. All the time, because that's how they make profit. So there's one example that I've given you, that they bought a company that deals with the very thing that the jibber jabber gives you. It's double bubble. It's like landmines. They'll get you to pay for the landmines for your war, And then after the war, the same landmine company will come to you and say, do you want us to get rid of the landmines for you? Pay us, obs. That's why Diana, possibly one of the reasons why she was being taken out. Because it was too profitable for other people and she was affecting the bottom line. She'd gone too far. So for the last 5 years, we've been very aware and very awake and very aligned to the truth. Nothing else, just to the truth. So when you've got a government that are aligning themselves, sure, you're very kind. Thank you very much. Your words mean a lot. You have a situation where not only did they tell us that, how can I put this? Not only did some politicians turn up and lay flowers, that's the first thing you've got to ask yourself. What the actual fuck? Politicians. It's like, why didn't anybody turn up at Fred West's house? Why didn't anybody turn up at the Sower murders? So the actions tell you everything you need to know. Not the words, not the reporting, not the journalists that are bought off. No. You just have to watch their actions, because soon enough, they will tell you everything that you need to know. It's like being in relationships, I suppose. When you're in an abusive relationship, you just watch their actions. You know what they're going to do. You know how they're going to do it if you awake and watch enough. And then, and I'm going to use 2 examples tonight. I've used one before, but I'm going to have a deep dive into what went on in the Northeast on Thursday night. I'm going to tell you, because my family are from there. And I'm a County Durham boy. None of this Tyne and Weir shite. I'm a County Durham boy. So we're going to have a deep dive into what the northeast of England did to send a message to their beloved Labour Party and the Labour crooks. So we had a situation in the northeast where a politician told the nation, thereby the world, right-wing thugs. They're all right-wing thugs. They're all right-wing thugs. Thugs everywhere. Everywhere I look, I see thugs. I see people, the right wing. In Hartlepool, Your Honour. It's redder than a baboon's arse, Hartlepool. And you go to Middlesbrough. It's redder than the Liverpool footy strip. They're not right-wing. None of them. Everybody just votes in line generationally with how their parents and or family have voted for 100 years. They're not right-wing. They were kicking off because, in my view, they were unhappy with the way that they were being treated by the fear porn peddlers, by the politicians who, I've told you before, are crooked as crooked is. That's why America's kicking off, because somebody stopped all the freebie money by the millions. Nancy, mate. So this country changed exponentially by a long stretch. It's Southport that changed everything. Not the lockdown. That gave us an insight. That gave us a mindset that we're not going to be legged over again, because people died in lockdown. People died with what was going on. Anthony Fauci, how the hell is that man still walking around on this planet? He should be doing chokey for the next 1,000 years. They should listen, when he dies eventually, because we all do, we're human beings. When he dies eventually, dig the fucker up and then get him back to life and then let him die again. And then when he dies, bury him, dig him up, bring him back to life and punish him again. Beelzebub sitting down there, pissing himself laughing at Fauci. Because if there is an eternity, and there is, they're going to have to face judgment of their own actions. Now, I've said to you before, it is the holy day. This is the body of the kirk, of course. And I am a man of the cloth. I only say that because I touch cloth every couple of... At my age, I'm sure you agree, we all touch cloth a couple of times a week. So we've had all of this. It's been given to us. Fauci, they will deal with Fauci, although they're not... Do you know they're not going to release Epstein's files? They're not going to release... Of course, they're not. Why do you think they stood there with folders with Epstein's list on it? It's theatre, darling. It's just there to take the piss out of you. So Fauci has disappeared. Bill Gates, just injecting them. And Bill Gates is now, let's send the planes up, lads. Yeah, send the planes up. We're just going to block out the sun. They're abjectly evil. I don't know what they're putting in their bloody water, but they're abjectly evil. So let's look at the repercussions of Southport. We don't need to look at the case itself because that is fraught with danger. Let's look at the repercussions because is it Newton's first law, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction? So what the Labour Party did, and they weren't in power that long when this came around. I mean, this is, in my view, watching Sir Keir Starmer, it's like watching a robot. Now, I know he's a barrister, or he was, head of the DPP, Grand Prosecution Service. Takes a bit of brains to do that, to be fair. But let him go back. Because he just looks at the camera like this. It's almost as if he's got fucking Botox all over his face, so he can't move it. I mean, does he ever smile? Always get him to bend over. That'll show the crack in his face in the mirror. Alan says Gates lab-grown burgers, yuck. Yeah, and there's that the plastic that they put on fruit, isn't there, to appeal. I look out for that. Any supermarket like Bovier in the milk and the plastics on fruit, if it's got any of that, look, I just vote with my feet. It's really simple. If you don't buy their shit, they're going to go under. Go woke, go broke. Or if you're trying to poison us, more need. Les Griffiths, it was when the son of a toolmaker was run out of Southport that it was decided the public had to go. Yeah, of course. Your dad was a toolmaker. Well, we see evidence of that every single day, you tart. I've noticed Starmer is getting a lisp, not something he had in the past. Is it him or is it a... Have they cloned him? Jackie Glasky, faster and further, chilling words from Keir Hitler. I agree with you, Jackie. So it's faster and harder. Faster and further. You know who told him to say that, don't you? Klaus Schwab. But he's been fired from WEF. So either Klaus wasn't doing it faster and harder, and, from what I hear... yeah, mucky old bastard. It's... Who would you be talking about, Adrian? I've no idea. Hang on. The Uborrel says, the Rev has knocked that Jaeger bomb back a bit too quickly. Still a full cup. It's ultra strong. It's ultra strong coffee. So, who would be and I'm going to give you two names. Maybe we should start asking some questions tonight, because I know you've been commenting away. Galactus, Starmer on the loss of Labour this week. We need to go further and faster. Translation, we need to change the demographics of the UK more before the next general election, because you don't piss the pensioners off. He's just told them, freeze to death. Well, he did, but before last winter, just 300 quid each. Nearly 12 billion going to Africa in aid. 3 billion a year for the next 100 years to Ukraine. For what? Ukraine, the most corrupt country in, well, they're saying in Europe, but it's not Europe, it's bloody Russia. Or the United States of Russia. And yet he can't give up $1.5 billion to keep some of the pensioners warm during the winter. I mean, he got away with it. If that had been a bad winter, can you imagine how the country would have turned against him? We don't even know what the winter's going to be next year. But then again, are we going to go into an ice age? Because they've blocked all the bloody sun out. Because there's shit in the air. And do you know, 30 odd years ago, when I was talking about chemtrails on the radio, people laughed at me. They laughed. I talked about chemtrails when I was on 25 years ago on LBC. I talked about chemtrails on some of my other phone-ins in the back end of the 80s, because it was seen as just so far out there. It was like little green men. So far out there. But now they're going to have to give us the aliens to placate us. So chemtrails, every day, everybody wakes up and goes, oh shit, have you seen all the lines in the sky? Is that cloud or what they're doing? And now we've got pilots coming out telling us that they're throwing shit up in the air. Now the government's come out and said, we're throwing shit up in the air. And everybody's like, oh, hang on a second. What's going on here then? Haven't you been paying attention for the last 40 years? They've been doing it since the mid-80s. So to bring this back on topic, Southport woke everybody up, aligned everybody, when we were being told that the right-wing thugs, the right wing are just kicking off. They're just, they're right-wing and they're thugs. Hang on a second. It amazes me how when the Tories get in, it's always the left that are protesting. And fan my brow, United States Agency for International Development aid, hundreds of billions of American dollars. Brilliant. Got to know you've got pizza and wine, Nicholas. So we've got a situation where we have an awakened society. We, me and you, are not taking the bullshit anymore. We're not. So you piss the pensioners off, and then so you lied to the waspy women. You're trying to kill off the middle classes. And you are literally any demographic in this country apart from the 16-year-olds, and you're letting those loose against the Pakistani rape gangs in the northern industrial towns. So literally everybody except the MPs in Westminster has decided you've got to go. And why have they decided that? Because you're cruel. These politicians, if they had given us any kind of insight or any kind of support and any kind of, if they'd been true about it, if they'd said, look, we are going to try our best. We're going to look at, Rachel has found a £22 billion black hole, which the OBR have said doesn't exist. But we'll kind of give it a five-finger shuffle and see what we can come up with. We'll try our best by you. We will do our best. But that's the thing. They haven't at all. And I will guarantee you this. I'll align this with Hartlepool and Middlesbrough, right-wing thugs. How am I going to align that with what happened on Thursday? County Durham. You are aware that Reform, let me give you some data. Reform have 677 councillors from absolutely nowhere. Zero. Bugger all. Nothing. Nix, nada, nout. Because the pensioners, the waspy women, the middle classes, those that are struggling, and now they're having a go at the disabled with the PIP payments. And they don't think that people are not pissed off at them. They showed them in the ballot box. They're done. They're finished. They're eviscerated. The Labour Party is no more. This parrot is dead. Because in their ignorance and their arrogance and they can sit in a box and watch their beloved Arsenal and they can get the free £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 suits and you'll get £2,000 glasses, pair of glasses, gogs, spectacles, and your missus will get nice freebie dresses from Lord Ali, and they're all at it. They've got that in a trough of money, and to get them out of there, you literally are going to have to grab them by the ankles. You might struggle with Ginger Growler because they'll be so far apart, but you can grab them by their ankles and pull them away and say, you're not doing this again, you can fuck off. They've killed a political party in their arrogance. Killed it. Now, I will say to you, I'm legitimately angry because when I left school, my father was a Labour councillor in Sunderland. All of our family were card-carrying members of the Labour Party. In the northeast of England, the Tories were only like the all fur coat, no knickers brigade in Sunderland. There was only about, 20 of them. Every single person in Sunderland, my city, my home, where I was born, in County Durham, just used to vote for the Labour Party, irrespective of what their policies were or what they were going to do. You just voted how your parents and grandparents and their grandparents voted when they got the vote. You didn't scrutinise what they were doing and what they were saying and how they were doing it. You just voted. So now, Reform has 677 councillors. What does that mean? I'll give you the data because I've made a note of it because I need you to understand the numbers. Now, rather than you, so I will say this categorically: the Labour movement, the Labour Party is deceased, gone, finished. And how can I say that? Because Reform have now control of 10 councils. Can you imagine how many councils they would have had control of if this corrupt government hadn't stopped voting in certain council elections? 677 seats out of 1,600. The Tories only have 319, half, less than half of Reform. Labour, 187 seats in local government. I mean, do you think it would be fair if I called the Lib Dems posh Pimm's drinkers? On me head, Davy. He's a lunatic, in my view. Absolute lunatic. But he's got those 3 special letters before his name, because you know that he's part of the establishment and he does what the establishment tells him. He's a sir. Keir Starmer, he's a sir. They just do as they are told. And Kemi, she's not any good at all. Last 2 weeks at PMQs, I believe she's been told by the Tory grandees, you've got a year, Kemi. You've got a year to turn it around. And if you can't, we'll find somebody else like Boris Johnson. So here's Durham. This is what I know because it's my lived experience from my city, from my area, from my family and my lineage in the northeast. Durham City, Durham Council is dyed in the wool red Labour. Every year we had something called Durham Big Meet, where all of the unions, the miners, the steelworkers, any kind of union would parade their banner through Durham City. Durham City's not that big, but hundreds of thousands of people and families, it was a family day, they would descend on Durham. And Durham sent a very powerful and very important message to Sir Keir Starmer and his other crooked pals in Westminster. And the message is this: we're not supporting Labour anymore. This is the epicentre of the Labour movement. The epicentre. You had marchers from Jarrow, which is just up the road. They marched from Jarrow, where they were supported by the Labour movement, if you wish. But the man and woman on the street who knew they were being shafted, and the Jarrow marchers marched down to see and speak with and protest against these idiots in power in London. Durham Big Meet. It was the biggest day of the year for the unions. It was the biggest day of the year for everybody as part of the Labour movement in the northeast of England. Everybody. And I know that all of the people from the northeast know what I'm talking about. This was dyed-in-the-wool Labour. There's absolutely no way that they would vote anywhere else. It was the Labour heartland. It is the Labour heartland. Not anymore. So now that Reform have 677 seats, Reform have control of Durham City Council. I'm going to offer you this. Seemingly, the Prime Minister is the President of this country. How can I say that? Well, this arsehole has decided to give Ukraine, the most corrupt country possibly on planet Earth, all the billions of dollars and pounds are being washed in Ukraine, and they're being spat back out to the politicians to stick in their bank accounts and nobody will see. The most corrupt country on earth. So President Starmer decided and gave Ukraine £3 billion and then said, we will give you £3 billion per year for the next 100 years. My question is, and why hasn't any of the journalists, the news organisations, or the newspapers in this country asked, how can you decide that? You're not a fucking president. You're our Prime Minister. We do everything by committee in this country, and you've decided off your own back that you're going to do that. Is that why WEF were getting upset? Because United States Agency for International Development in 2024 gave WEF $32 million for what? And now you've got a situation where the WEFster, Starmer, wants to give Ukraine and have billions of pounds washed. So how much has he given WEF? Hang on. I just want to see what Nicholas has said. Half a mile from my home, a child has been burned to death. 11 boys and 3 girls, aged between 14 and 11, on suspicion of manslaughter. We have feral children now. We have feral children. I've told you many times before on these lives. The legal profession need to have a moral vacuum to make money. The legal profession is merely legalized extortion. That's all it is. If you think that going to the police and they're going to investigate a crime and then it's going to go to court and your legal team are going to have that person put in jail because of what they've done, you're living in cloud cuckoo land. The legal profession don't care about right or wrong. They just care about money. The legal profession, in my view, is morally bankrupt. It has been for however long the legal profession has been around. They're shysters, the legal profession. Shysters. Now, to add a little balance to that, I am sure that there are some within the legal profession who actually have some integrity. I know so. But in my view, it's morally bankrupt. And the only way that the legal profession can make as much money as they do is because they need a moral vacuum. Oh, now we've got feral kids running about, stabbing each other with impunity and beating up the elderly. There was a court case recently where a boy and a girl beat an old boy to death. And the Tory party always used to issue on their ticket, "We are the party of law and order." Law and disorder, if you ask me. Look, these political clowns, the benefits bill for migrants is now over £1 billion. So the political will at the top. I've told you how corrupt the police are. Now, Thursday's Live, if you go, the Cloward Piven strategy, they are going to ruin the police force so that there's chaos and disorder on the streets of this country so they can control you. You're just a cash cow. They don't care whether you live or die. But I will say this to you. You won't see Sir Keir Starmer's son anywhere near boots on the ground in Ukraine. You won't. I will ask Tony Blair. He was keen on everybody getting the MMR vaccine. I want to ask him. Did he get the MMR? Sorry, let's ask Tony Blair. Tony Anthony Linton Blair, Bow Street Magistrates. Ask Tony Blair whether his son Leo had the MMR vaccine or whether he had 3 separate jabs in France. So the elite are laughing at you. You're just cash cows. They will tell you what to do. And obviously there's a few bob in jibber jabbers. But when it comes to their own offspring, they won't have the same for them as they suggest you do. So if there's going to be boots on the ground, let's ask Sir Keir Starmer. Let's get all the reporters at the press conferences. Let's have the newspapers ask this question. Sir Keir, will you send your son to Ukraine? He's legally of the age where he can. So I believe what is happening now, because we've got other subjects to get onto, what I believe is happening now is this horse trading going on. The horse trading is this. Starmer wants to stay in power. There's too many freebies to be had and too much money to make. He wants to stay in power. They're all corrupted by the power. They're all intoxicated by the power. They can literally, it's almost like a Roman emperor, yay or nay. They literally have people's lives in their hands. Look at Nick Hancock and the jibber jabber and the lockdowns and Charlie 19. And he's now a celebrity making millions out of appearing on TV. In the words of the great Chinese philosopher, has he fucked off with that bird, that married bird that he pulled and decided to take away from her husband and family? Terry Wookford, Blair's son will go to uni after he finishes school, so we'll get a conscription deferment if they bring in conscription. He will be safe. Are you talking about Leo, Blair's son, or are you talking about Starmer's son, Terry? Sandra Wytham, well, there's no discipline and kids are running wild. We had respect of people who was older, like teachers. I agree with you, Sandra. Let's look at it this way. They're ruining the police force, so the police force can't police the streets because they want feral kids running around, so that there's this moral vacuum that the legal profession can make a shit ton of money from. Now, what is Starmer? Barrister and lawyer. I think he's able to do the two, but he's a barrister. There will be inquiries where friends of his will oversee this particular inquiry and make a shit ton of money. Doesn't matter whether somebody wins or loses. They're just using other people's money. Don't you get that? Right. First question. We have Reform with 677 seats. So that's the point that I was going to make. You have Starmer as the titular head of the government, the Prime Minister of Great Britain. He's the titular head, making decisions like a president, but he's not got any power now. You know who's got the power, don't you? Reform. They've got 677. They've got 10 councils. They've got 677 seats. Farage has got the power at a local level. Now, nationally, they can try and stop money getting to the Reform councils. 10 of them. And as I say, one of those is Durham. And this Labour Party and the NEC, the National Executive Council, if you wish, or committee, or whatever they call it in Labour, they will be looking at it and shitting themselves. This bank holiday weekend, you're not really going to get much out of them, apart from the VE Day celebration tomorrow, and I think there's some on Thursday. Labour will be holding war councils. And I don't mean it in a literal sense. They will be having meetings everywhere with the doyens of the Labour movement and saying to them, what the fuck just happened on Thursday? What happened? And Starmer's going to go, dunno, I was shagging. I'm being facetious, of course. But he's not in a position now. They will be looking at, they used Starmer to get them into power. He lied. We have evidence. Prima facie evidence in the newspapers, in his interviews, in the videos that are posted everywhere on social media. That boy lies. Ask the waspy women. Des Ashton, civil service and local government officers hold the whip hand. So my question nicely dovetails with what Des has said. Should we, as the United Kingdom, have our version of Doge? We have a bankrupt council, Birmingham. We have other councils that are bankrupt. They've just spunked all their money, left, right and centre, probably on Jaffa cakes for the meetings, but they don't have the money. So I'm going to ask you, 1 for yes, 2 for no. Should we have here in the UK our version of Doge, looking at where the money's going? That includes Ukraine, that includes local councils, that includes national politics. I mean, look at the shitstorm that happened in Westminster when it was found out that the expenses, they were literally signing away billions in expenses. More millions than billions. Ray Norton says, too fucking right. Everybody. Alan says, and that includes overseas aid. That's why I mentioned Ukraine. That's why I mentioned Africa. Can you imagine how amazing our life would be in this country if we didn't have politicians? Or should I say, we didn't have corrupt politicians? Can you imagine all of this money that's being washed in the NGOs, the non-governmental organisations? Can you imagine if the money was coming back to the the subjects of this sceptred isle? We're not citizens, we are subjects of the crown. They keep using this word citizens. We're subjects of the crown, of the monarchy, of the king. Maybe they want us to think that we're citizens, but that's because they're integrating us back into Europe. Adrian, how does this election actually help anyone? What can be done with that new power that reform has? I believe thank you, Napoleon Bonaparte, the most important thing is that people have hope. They now have a belief, and I think it was a 46% turnout. You're lucky to get 20 odd percent for a general election. And the midterms or the local election, as they are in this country, people don't vote in them. They vote in general elections. But there was a 46% turnout for these. So we've got so many angry people, Napoleon blown apart, but now they see they're making a difference. We're patient. You know this, Napoleon blown apart. We're patient in this country. We don't necessarily need it to happen immediately, or that will be lovely. But now, millions of people have seen that their vote has gone a particular way, and they have hope. So they know that the groundswell of opinion in the United Kingdom, let's speak for England. The groundswell of opinion in England aligns with their wants and needs, not the political wants and needs. So all of those millions of people that voted in that local election, or those local elections on Thursday, and with the MPs, they know they're angry. They know they've absolutely killed off the Labour Party. Because it doesn't matter what Starmer says in the newspapers or tries to be funny about. We know he's lying. So he can't be trusted, and that's the rub for the Labour Party. The NEC, what do we do? The public, Keir Starmer is toxic. His brand is toxic. His political career is toxic. In my view, and this is always just in my view, you can do your own research, you can have your own opinions, but Keir Starmer is toxic. And I've said to you earlier in this live, it all boils down to Southport. Irrespective of any further detail, it was because he labelled people in this country right-wing thugs. The right-wing riots. Some people, some broadcasters, and this massively pissed me off, and there are some broadcasters shitting themselves because they know, looking at the stats and looking at the data, there may be people walking away from their radio stations. And that's when they're in trouble, because you won't get listeners back if you're spouting bullshit. And some of the presenters, honestly, their backsides are going 50p sixpence, 50p sixpence. Why? Because they know they're done, they're finished. Farage and Reform have changed this country forever. There is a political party that is not going to be anymore, and the Labour Party NEC are going to have to make a decision, and the decision is this: who's going to be Prime Minister? The backbenchers now know if Starmer stays, they're going to be deselected. They might have a year or 2 or 3, but they're going to be gotten rid of. I would hazard a guess that if there are any further by-elections, Reform will win. And the politicos, the parasitical classes, thought they were being clever at the general election. 6 million votes and only 5 MP seats. They were really clever. So the country has gone, all right then, Bonnie lad, clever, but this is what's going to happen. We don't want you anymore. We don't want the parasitical classes. We don't want the political classes. We don't want the establishment or the elite, because you've shafted us for hundreds of years. And it's no more, because we have social media. And you know what's going to happen, don't you? They're going to stop your access to social media. It's coming. Why do you think Fergie's come out and gone, oh, we can't have our children, getting access to social media? No, because everybody's learned the truth. And then you've got Elon Musk sitting at the top going, oh, just, post whatever you want, so long as it's not illegal. So everybody's got an access to truth. And the Labour Party, I'm guaranteeing you, this weekend, are shitting themselves. All of them. whether it's the front benches of MPs in Westminster, or whether it's the NEC trying to work out whether they're anti-Semitic or not, or however they're going to be this weekend, the main thrust is who's going to be the next Prime Minister. Is it going to be Ginger Growler? Don't be stupid. How laughable would she be? She's evidently a clever puppy, but that accent, red and green dresses and shoes, they want somebody a bit smoother. But she's there to frighten the shit out of Starmer, because he's looking over his shoulder all the time. Look, if you don't play ball with us, Bonnie lad, we've got Ginger Growler in place. And if you look at the betting, it's a straight shootout for being Prime Minister between Wes Streeting and Yvette Cooper. But Yvette Cooper was the other one that was laying flowers in Southport. The people are not going to take this anymore. This is, I don't know whether you agree, this is a fantastic time to be alive. This is the resistance. This is the fight back. And it all started from Southport because we knew we were being shafted. People were put in jail for posts on social media. 3 years? No. The people of this country are, in the majority, or by the majority, are straight up and down honest Injuns. They just want to live their lives. They don't want to be told, bend over, it's going in. Because that's what the political elite have done for hundreds of years. I've told you before, the elite, if the laird of the manor has two sons, William and Harry. The firstborn gets the seat, gets the house, gets the pile, gets the seat, gets the money. But the secondborn goes into the church, because not only do they want the money and the pile and the seat, William, all those castles, all that money, they want possibly their second son to go into the church for the power. If you've got the money and you've got the power, it's all about continuing the name. So the elite don't care. They've got money where money doesn't matter. They literally can have anything that they want. But what they need is power. So they either go into the church or they go into politics. I've been in the Houses of Parliament. I've been into the House of Lords. Mate, the opulence in the House of Lords, it's off the scale. But the people have something that these politicians need to control. As Ken Livingstone once said, it was the title of his book, if voting changed anything, they'd abolish it. And watch for all these people that quote that and don't know its origin. Ken Livingstone, if voting changed anything, they'd abolish it. And that's what they want to get to. I see you bring back Spitting Image. Oh, that would be wonderful. But it's too dangerous now, because the elite, the establishment, know that we've got them on the run. If you go back to the People's Revolution or People's Revolt back in the 1100s, Wat Tyler leading that, they had to be bought off with a Magna Carta. So have I got the timing right? Because the scruffy oiks were dictating to the elite. Can't have that. Bloody hell, the great unwashed. And we've just done to them on Thursday, and they're running around like headless chickens. They don't know what to do. They have no clue. Because if you look at what Starmer and Ginger Growler and Rachel from Accounts and Streeting in the NHS, what they do is they just parrot it. Oh, 14 years of the Tories, 14 years of the Tories. And we're all like, no. Let's just go back to Southport. And if you want, we'll go back to lockdown and the jibber jabber. But we're not looking at 14 years of the Tories. We didn't vote for this Labour government. We voted to get rid of the Tories. And because the Uni Party, or the Labour government have decided that, well, they must have wanted us in. No, we wanted rid of the crooks. We wanted rid of the Michelle Moans of the world. We wanted rid of the rich boy Sunaks of the world. We wanted rid of the bloody Tories who took the piss. We still haven't had the 30 million back from Michelle Moan. When's that going to happen then? I agree, Nicholas. Nicholas says the real player is Anne and how she looked after her kids. Peter Phillips and Zara Tindall. 10 out of 10 job. Wasn't Peter Phillips the actual proper favourite of the Queen? Les Griffith says, career politics should be ended. 2 terms max. Fully audited to detect financial shenanigans. Agreed, Les. Completely agree. The people should have the control. And as I say, the people of this sceptred isle are willing to pay their taxes because the bloody elite don't. They'll find good accountants that'll stop them from paying taxes. They'll have offshore accounts so they don't pay taxes. And they'll argue and they'll whine and complain that, well, if you get rid of the millionaires, then the system will fall over. That may be thus. But stop taking the piss out of the working man and woman that day in, day out are fighting just to put bloody food on their table. Do you know, having 2 holidays a year and maybe having 2 cars at the door and maybe having a nice house and a nice family, the man and woman on the street of this country don't ask for much, but the elites take the piss. Kale says, together we are more. There's millions of us. There are. And Thursday night, as Napoleon Bonaparte was asking, the message from Thursday night is so earth-shattering for the politicians in this country, similar to when Trump didn't get shot much. They wanted to blow that boy's head off his shoulders. Now, what I will say at this juncture is Nigel Farage needs to have protection, 24-hour, 7-day a week, because these politicos will pull any stunt. Look, we've got trained psychopaths, the special forces. They're trained psychopaths. So long as the government's got deniability, like an OnlyFans woman that chucked some orangeade or whatever it was in his face, she should be doing jail time. Because Nigel didn't know what that was. Only she did. And he should have had protection. But the politicos don't want him to have any protection because that means they won't be able to get to him. Look, if the establishment can kill a princess and then tell everybody it was the paparazzi, they can get to anybody. It's a mad, murky, corrupt world that we live in. And all we're asking these people to do is do the right thing. And they didn't with the jibber jabber. They didn't with Charlie 19. They didn't with the lockdowns. And they didn't with Southport. And the people of this country have just waited, have just been very patient. You'll notice when I was on air on Thursday night and we were looking for the exit polls were nowhere near what happened. Because what lockdown and Charlie 19 taught us, and BBC's Jill Dando, I agree, Nicholas, what the shenanigans from 2020 taught us is you couldn't open your mouth, you couldn't be honest, you couldn't be truthful, because people were shouting you down. The media were telling you, you can't say that, you can't do that, take the jibber jabber. You're going to kill people. If you're not jibber jabbered, you're going to kill people. So everybody just went into themselves and just waited. They waited for the opportunity. And the perfect storm came on Thursday. I can guarantee you that the political elite, the establishment, will not allow you or anybody else to have a vote and do the same thing, because they know that next time, if there's a general election and it's the nation that's voting, they're all shafted. Because the pensioners, the waspy women, the middle classes, the the disabled. I mean, look, when they went for the disabled, how this is an orderly society. We need rules and parameters, of course we do. We need laws, of course we do. But when you've got the political elite looking at spunking £12 billion in Africa and Ukraine £100 billion on largesse and ego, and we have disabled people in this country that can't get the appropriate care and support. What kind of again, I don't look away from this. I don't swear much because I don't get this angry. But by Christ, can you imagine how angry this makes me when we can't support other human beings? And these crooked bastards in Westminster, they're laughing at us. Not now. Not now the vote's being counted. Des Ashton says, who would the establishment blame for the assassination of a political leader? Lone gunman, Des. Lone gunman. Well, no, not a lone, can't be a lone gunman because you're not allowed guns in this country. Well, seemingly, you're not allowed guns, but, the drug gangs do. But that OnlyFans model who thought it would be really funny and it would get more subs for her. Oh, while we're talking about OnlyFans, just as a quick aside, that in my view, that tart, Bonnie Blue, she's either had a vagina prolapse or a uterine prolapse. Call me old-fashioned. So, Napoleon Bonaparte says, we all fell for the jibber jabber ruse. Some people say that was just the first of lots of other rules to control people. Well, they're talking about another one. I mean, let's have another question. I have to bring my my cortisol down. I'm going to ask you one very simple question, because I think this will lead us to more conversations and debates. Des Ashton, as we sow, so shall we reap. I agree, Des. So this question is this. Did reform solely win on immigration? Do you think that reform won on Starmer saying, it's 1 for yes, 2 for no? Agincourt. Was it Starmer going, we're going to smash the gangs? And then didn't. And it was the Tories going, we'll smash the gangs. And then didn't. And this country paid France 500 million to escort them across the channel. So was it purely immigration that had reform win all of those votes? Ooh. That's really interesting. They have a lot of common sense policies, including foreign aid and assistance to Ukraine. Thank you, Terry. Nicholas, Bonnie Blue Fanny like the Metro Tunnel. Be like chucking a chipolata up there. Everybody's. So some people are commenting, and Des Ashton says, dislike of the other parties with was a major contribution. So everyone that's saying no, it wasn't just immigration. Tell me what it was. What was the one thing? A bit like Brexit, I voted for out because when we were in Europe, and this was the only thing that made me vote out, is because the north of England, Carlisle, York, parts of Scotland, places were flooding. Do you know why? Because Europe said we couldn't dredge our rivers. And since 2016, I'm not going to ask you this question because you know the answer. How many times has York flooded? How many times has Carlisle flooded? How many times has the floodplains in the north flooded? Not as many as when we were in Europe. Because, you know, my family previously are miners, steel workers, shipyard workers, and fishermen. My dad was a merchant navy man. We weren't allowed to dredge our rivers. So let's have a look. Les Griffith says we're going back into the EU by the back door Starmer. Napoleon Bonaparte, it wasn't the Tories or Labour. Sam said, I like the 20 grand tax break. What the Americans are getting. Nikki Watson, no one wants LIBOR or the Tories. We need new hope. Nikki, that's why everybody's voting for reform. Nigel's got to be very careful because if, and I'm just flying a kite here. Thank you, herding cats. I do eat a lot of fish. I've got no bloody choices what to put in front of me. Joke. Nigel has to be very careful because if he continues and the party continues and they continue to give us hope, they're an absolute shoe-in. Nobody else is going to be in Westminster. They'll all be eviscerated. The Tories are done. They're finished. Because of those 14 years, we saw the corruption writ large. We've seen Labour and their corruption writ large. The only thing that will stop Nigel Farage and Reform staying in power for a generation is not giving the public hope. Because that's all we want. Just do the right thing. But we don't care about the spats within the party currently. We just want the right thing done, which is we're busting our nuts day in, day out, then just give us a bit of succor. Dan Casey, lies, lies and more lies. Good to see you in the comments, Dan. Andrew James, we get floods once a year due to Wiltshire having new builds on floodplains. Bloody hell, Andrew. Sam, you can earn 20 grand before you pay taxes. What, in this country? I thought your personal was 12,750. Thank you, herding cats. Well, Les, you know what you and I think about many things similarly, but you said, oh, for fuck's sake, when will the penny drop? Voting will change nothing. Except, Les, Thursday night. They didn't expect it. Nothing that they were being told on the doorstep was actually measuring up. And if you've got Starmer, he literally does not know. It doesn't compute. He's not a human being. He's a bloody computer. You've got the Labour Party front benchers who went out and knocked on the door. They were on the hustings. They weren't being told by people, fuck off, I'm not voting for you. They weren't. People were just like, not today, thanks very much. I've got my milk, I've got my eggs, I've got my potatoes and my bread. Don't need anything else. Thanks very much. Who are you? They weren't being told anything. Normally, people would go, where are you from? From the Labour Party. Oh, you bunch of crooks. Fuck off. But they weren't people. Because of lockdown, people are not telling other people when it comes to important decisions. They're not telling anybody else. I don't know whether you are. Okay, I'll ask you this question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. If somebody said to you, and it's a reason why I have not asked this question. 1 for yes, 2 for no. If I was going to ask you specifically, or somebody else in your family specifically, or somebody on the street, or somebody in the pub, or somebody at work, if they said to you, who are you going to vote for? Would you tell them? Remembering what happened Charlie 19 in the lockdowns. If somebody asked you, who are you going to vote for? This is not yes or no whether you're going to vote. This is specifically who you're going to vote for. If somebody asked you that question, would you tell them? Oh, I love you. I bloody love you. Les Griffiths, don't vote. Lionel Leighton unrehearsed, yes. Lauren Taylor, he ain't a computer or a robot. He's a fucking lawyer. Same thing, Lauren. I'm being facetious. Amalia says depends who it is. So I believe that there has been earth-shattering decisions made by people because of lockdown, because of Southport, because of the threat of going to jail. Nobody is speaking their truth. No one. For fear of, you're a right-wing thug, going to jail for writing something on a social media. People are not stupid anymore. They're awake and aligned. And they are not allowing these politicians any insight into what they're going to do. Can I count on your vote on Thursday? No. I'm off. Napoleon Bonaparte. Everyone was scared to admit to supporting the big Don. I know there were. I know. In America, it was insane, Napoleon Bonaparte. I was watching all of this, and there were people kicking over hoardings or boardings, and the left were... I mean, how can I say this? The reason why the political classes in America were trying to stop every which way. They tried lawfare. They tried bankrupting him. Can you imagine the fine? The fine was $500 million on something that somebody says, and he just laughed. He got his, so they took all of his liquid assets, all of his money, his cash, liquid assets. They took it. And then he sold Truth Social and got another couple of billion in. And then he did a bit of crypto shenanigans, and now he's got about $8 billion. He's laughing at these morons. Because the Don is a genius. Now, it doesn't really matter about your political assignations. That's a beautiful word. The left are pissed off because the United States Agency for International Development, which spunked hundreds of millions of dollars of American taxpayers' money out into the world so that it would come back to that's how somebody on $185,000 a year as a politician has got a personal wealth of 200 million. He stopped all that, and everybody's gone, oh, what do you mean? No, you can't do that, man. It's Elon Musk, it's not me. Trump is a genius. And do you know why he can get away with it? Because he's not taking a penny from the American people. He's not taking his pay as president. He doesn't need money. And everybody in this situation is all about the Benjamins, all about the greenbacks. So you transpose that into this country, it's exactly the same. That's why people are in politics, to make a shit ton of money. It's not about power. It's not, well, to a certain extent, but it's not about doing the right thing for their the people voting them into power. No. They're running around like blue-ass flies, making money. Exactly, that says, if you bought a TV license, you probably voted. Nicholas says, I want reform, but vote Green. I am very political. We need rid of the blue-red front bench for the benefit of the UK. Les Griffiths, the Pelosi Act, pure comedy genius. I know. Waddy. No, I'm not going to crack a gag. Neither is Rupert Lowe. I see that. Alan says, can't see Nigel doing that somehow. So the arrogance of the Labour Party is such that they believe they have a God-given right to do what the fuck they want. Well, actually, they don't now, because And this is where Nigel needs to be very, very, very cautious and careful. He's going, right, we're going to go in there. Any DEI hires, right? Find yourself another job. Flat wallet. Look up the US definition of a politician. Grifter. I think I'll find flat wallet. Not the newbie. Love it. Ray Norton, Big Mike, admitting the truth the other day. Has he? Really? I mean, Prince Albert strapped it to his leg. Big Mike the same. So I'm told. Obviously, I wasn't there with Victoria, but... let's get to... let's get to Harry. By the way, I'm hearing word that Israel are going to obliterate South Gaza. This is just a little aside. I think what I'm hearing is that Israel are going to drive the Gazans into the Sinai Peninsula, possibly. I predicted it 18 months ago. But Netanyahu has to be one of the most evil men on planet Earth. He's never going to relinquish power. He's just going to keep Israel perpetually at war. You've got the Houthis in Yemen. The Houthis saying, oh, if you've got an American ship or a British ship, we're going to bomb the fuck out of you. Really? Here, Donald, nuke Yemen. It'll turn the sand to glass. Cheeky fuckers. Oh, we're going to bomb British and American ships. So keep your eye open. It's going to kick off soon. They're going to obliterate South Gaza. Nothing left. But as I said to you before, the Egyptians are going to have to take some of the Gazans. You've got other Middle East countries that are going to have to take some of the Gazans. But there's so many trillions of dollars worth of gas and oil under the Gaza Strip. They're not going to stop them. So let me give you some insight into Awi. And the reason I'm doing this is because, well, it just needs to be told. The boy, the privilege, he's... What's the difference between a politician and a catfish? One is a bottom-dwelling scum sucker, the other is a fish. Scum-sucking pond life, Des. So I'm going to give you my take on what this nonsense with Harry, the privileged prince, has been about. And it's very simple, really. Internationally protected persons. Now, Harry gets it because he's a blood royal. But his wife don't. But why would that matter, Adrian? Oh, it's really simple. I'm going to tell you. So 5 years down the line, he said, no, I'm fecking off to America. Look, I'm taking me missus. We're off. And everybody's looked at him and gone, oh, Harry, you're the most popular royal. We don't want you to do that. Can you not stay? No. I've had enough of you. I'm off. See you later. And in 5 years, we've had the car chase around New York. Have you ever been to New York? Try having a car chase in New York. You're quicker to walk. And then we've had threats and stuff. And then in the newspapers today, he stayed over at some other posh boy, one of his mates. Stayed there, and they ordered a Deliveroo. Now, we've all heard the stories of what Deliveroo deliver. Shan't go any further with that. Maybe it was just a meat feast pizza. Les Griffiths, blimey. I agree. Now, when I first started doing these lives, I told the story of Harry absolutely trying to take William's head off with a golf club. And the newspaper said, oh, it was a friend. It was a friend. It wasn't Harry. It wasn't a friend. Harry just wants to be king. He wants to be top dog. And that's why they've promulgated Harry and Meghan being the showbiz couple in the royal family. Well, the royal family doesn't need showbiz. They're one of the oldest bloodlines. richest bloodlines. They don't need any sparkle. That's why William's gone across to America with Earthshot and other, showbiz stars. His mum dancing with John Travolta. Harry believes that his mother was the showbiz department of the royal family. And it looked like at one point they were literally going to bring the royal family down. So that's a little aside. And the information that I had at the time was it was Harry that hit William over the head with a golf club, and they were so scared and worried that William was going to be permanently damaged. They were both kids. But in my view, Harry's not the brightest. His brain's so small, if you blow up his nose, he'll go off like a referee's whistle. But he still has this privileged demand. And Charles the Weak's not going to deal with him. He doesn't. Oh, you're very kind, Viv. Yeah. Hang on, let me just do this. Because it's saying to me there's only 4 likes. So if you could, while you're in the body of the cook, just smash the likes, so we can get it somewhere near 200. And thank you for everyone that already has voted and liked. So Charles the Weak is, it's like any dad of either 2 sons or brothers, or I'm being loose with that term. Lauren Taylor, very prescient. I'm not really a royalist. However, I admired the Queen. All her bloody life, she served this country. He can stay away. We don't want him and his strange wife. Question. Who was the first royal from the royal family to have a dance with Meghan? Just asking for a friend. So 5 years Harry's been at it. I wonder who's going to pay his legal fees. Who's going to pay Harry's legal fees? It's hundreds of thousands of pounds, seemingly. But interesting. Let's have a look at this. I will continue with where I'm going with that, because I do want to tell you. I just want to yeah, the newspapers are not in yet, so I'll get to those maybe in just a moment. So Harry has had 5 years, hundreds of thousands in legal fees. Who's going to pay those? I think he was expecting a win. But this internationally protected person. So let's have a look what that means. It means that the internationally protected person, when they travel, is just waved through the airport. No bags are checked, no customs, nothing. So what do you think of this? According to Tom Bauer, I'm going to reference his book, Harry, I know, because I've still got the News of the World front page, was sent to rehab. Now, they can say whatever they want. He was sent to rehab, and he was sent to a specialist rehab that dealt with heroin users. He was sent there. It's public information. It's out there because the News of the World reported it. He was sent to a particular rehab. There's Meghan Markle. When she was Meghan Markle, her and Trevor Engelman, when they got married, they handed free bags of weed out to everybody. That's in Tom Bauer's book. And Tom Bowers also relayed that Doria Raglan loved a toot on the lawn. So let me tell you this. When you're an internationally protected person, you can go from country to country and your bags are not checked. So internationally protected person is for life of the individual. Harry's a blood royal. He gets that automatically. He comes into this country. He goes and stays at a royal residence. Then he gets protection. He's talking about, well, I can't bring my kids over. Yeah, they're your kids, Harry, not Meghan's. There's no shame in using surrogates, but it's the lies and deceit that the people of this country dislike intensely. So now you've got, hang on, let me have a look at what Top of 69 is saying. I saw a headline, Charles ain't got long to live. I think they're responding to what Harry is saying in this interview with the BBC the other day. But we've been talking about that on this channel since it became public knowledge that he had cancer. And remember, just a couple of weeks ago, he had to stop his trip to Italy to see the Pope because he was having treatment for cancer. So let me give you this thought. So Harry has admitted in his book Spare of using recreational drugs. Meghan Markle and Trevor, her former husband, gave everyone at her wedding bags of weed. And Doria, according to her now ex-husband, loves a toot. So the IPP lands in a country, the bags are not checked, they just wave through. So Harry gets it automatically. Meghan doesn't. And that's what he was fighting for, in my view, to get his wife internationally protected person status. But also the nanny for the kids, because she or he would be traveling with Harry and Meghan. The nanny would travel with the kids. The nanny gets internationally protected person. So, I don't know. Harry's been to rehab. Meghan gave it away at a wedding. And Tom Bowers has stated categorically, and he's not been sued for it, Doria Ragland loves a toot. So they could fly around the world. Nobody would check their bags for drugs. Terry says, assignment of a royal family protection team wouldn't give his family IPP status. IPP for anyone other than family would have to go before Parliament. So that's why he's been fighting for IPP status. Wasn't for him. It's for his wife and her mother. Why would he do that? That's why I believe William, because they know what's coming. Charles, if he hasn't got long, and Talker 69 says, seen it in Spanish newspapers or the Spanish media, if Charles hasn't got long, when William, so King is dead, long live the King. That's the handover. Queen's dead, long live the King. I'm sure one of the things that William's going to do is make sure that this charade and these shenanigans are stopped immediately. The old Bovril, funny how the American connection effed it up for Edward VIII, Prince Andrew and Harry. Andrew James, Meghan is a blood royal, just like Kate is. Look at the bloodlines and family tree. So the way that the royals operate, any pregnant royal, and the pregnancy means that there will be somebody going into the line of succession, including, because at the moment, Harry is he third? So it's Charles, William, Harry. George is still not old enough. As Griffith says, if he feels threatened when in Britain, can he explain the lack of crowds and media coverage when he came over for court proceedings? I just think this is... He's in the line of succession. The line of succession is going to deviate the minute William becomes king. Harry always thought that he's got to wait until George becomes 18. But the fact that he's talking about reconciliation, I don't know whether you've ever been involved in any family dramas, but if you were the brother of a man that had done that to you, talking about some very private stuff just to sell a book, would you trust him again? It's been said in the newspapers yesterday and today that Charles can't trust him. All the royals can't trust him. If they say anything, it'll end up in the press. But there's poor Harry. He's getting it tight from the missus at home. He's getting it tight from his family. Can you imagine? I mean, I always thought that Meghan was a dominatrix. Can you imagine giving it to Harry tight? So to speak. Euphemistically. In one sense, I do feel sorry for him because he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's got nowhere to go. They do reckon that Meghan had a hand in his... I don't know why I'm pointing up there because that's where the book is. Meghan had a hand in writing Spare. Because Harry couldn't remember anything. He had to go to his mates, according to the newspapers. Not that I believe them. And they said, I can't remember. When Meghan gave out bags of weed, did the Queen call for the royal... Ooh, interesting. Phil Van. Can't quite make that out, and for legal reasons, I'm not going to repeat it. Les Griffiths. Strip the titles, stop talking about them, and they will evaporate into the ether. I think she's working hard at her brand because she knows what's coming. The minute William ascends to the throne, the games will stop. William's a sharp cookie. God, you can tell I'm getting tired of mixing me metaphors now. So it's all around this IPP for Meghan and Doria. But why? Maybe they want bags full of Hershey's chocolates. And don't want to have to pay tax to import them into the country. I don't know. But I'm telling you this. He's done. Finished. He's always a blood prince. Always. He can't use Diana now. Because everybody's... The minute he starts opening his mouth, he starts talking about Diana. People are like, oh, give it a rest, man. I think he's a lost little boy. And I believe that the royal family protected him. I mean, if you look at the Invictus Games, it was the royal household that gave that to him as a something to concentrate on and kind of keep him on the straight and narrow. And now they don't want anything to do with the drama that surrounds the Invictus Games whenever he and Meghan are there. Nicholas, why don't next king, the head of the forces, ask who killed his ma? I think they already know. I think they already know why. But the people of this country, you can't tell them. But where are we 28 years afterwards? 2027 will be 30 years. Les Griffiths, she handed out bananas to street walkers, for fuck's sake. I know. Napoleon Bonaparte, they're all so irrelevant. We had a reverence for the Queen Elizabeth. Gave this country so much. Loved her horses. And Porchy, to be fair. Andrew, bloody spitting double a Porchy. So it's... Lauren Taylor. How can he use his mother's memory? She would be horrified. I think now that we are getting to a point of simply no return. His dad's courts don't work for him anymore. And I was told by someone that would know that they were going through money at some rate. So where's he going to get the money from? Stuart, do you know? Stuart says, but Meghan reminds him of Diana. She's Diana reincarnated. Won't do anything about the landmines. Napoleon Bonaparte also makes a very good point. I had reverence for her, that's in Queen Elizabeth, until Diana died. Oh, I say. Right, we're going to do something for 5 minutes. It's called Tomorrow's News Today. I don't know how many of these I'll be able to go through for you because they're landing right now. But some of the headlines hitting the newspapers, the Daily Telegraph, are saying imminent suspected Iran terror raid foiled. I know that the intelligence services in this country have arrested 5 and they're looking at other people. We're not being told what that is, but they just said they've stopped something. So I wonder if that's what the Daily Telegraph is talking about. Imminent suspected Iran terror raid foiled. Beckham's on the front page again at 50. I mean, how many days is he going to be bloody 50, for God's sake? I'm beginning to get to a point where I'm sick and tired of hearing about him. He's a very wealthy man. He's also a WEF puppet. So evidently, that's why, in my view, he's getting all this reportage. Why? Because somebody hits 50. He's not Bobby Charlton, although he'd love to be. He wants a knighthood, and because of he was a petulant man when he didn't get his knighthood. He started flinging all these emails to the board that decide whether you get something or you don't. And he was kicking off about it. That's why they're not going to give him a knighthood, because he was a petulant little oik. Rape survivors attacked minister over dog whistle quote. So that'll be Lucy Powell. That's just going to run and run and run. These politicians, these career politicians, have absolutely no clue what the man and woman on the street need. Facebook is putting children's lives in danger, says security chief. You know what they're after, don't you? Yeah, we want laws in place and rules in place so you can't get anywhere near the truth. Like having X. They'll stop your access to social media. And look, if we hadn't had X, if we hadn't had any access to the truth, do you think we'd be in this position now with Farage and Reform getting 677 seats? Don't be silly. So fight off Reform with higher taxes and spending. PM said, told. Hang on. I mean, I'm not stupid all day, but how does higher taxes mean that people won't vote for Reform? The Labour Party would drive them into the arms of Reform. EU blocks efforts to curb flow of migrants. So they want to stop the votes. They want to smash the gangs. They want to smash the boats. They want to stop the dinghy divers. They want all of that stopped. And now the EU's told them, no, you can't do that. Well, if you go, I've told you before, the Clwyd Piven strategy. If you go to Thursday's live that I did just before the results started coming in, go to the Clwyd Piven strategy, and part of it, and that's the migrants, is to kill this country off from within. It's a very dangerous premise, but that's what they're trying to do. And it's the communists, the Marxists, the socialists, that is the EU bloc and Westminster that are trying to stop us from stopping the migrants coming into this country. Charlie's not looking very well in his picture on the front of the Times. Done the Daily Telegraph, the Daily Star. Don slashes NASA budget. Trump dumps ET. Freddie Starr ate my hamster. There's a double-decker bus on the moon. I mean, we've had this since the mid-80s. Is that a newspaper? Or is it just a comedy rag? Brooklyn is out of the frame. We're not bothered, man. We don't care. We literally don't care. If there's a family spat going on, look, Harry, William and Charles is much more entertaining. Some boy got married to his bird. He's not going to upset the wife, is he? Oh, I want to go and see me dad. No, you're going to stop that. It's made up shite, man. VE Day, Thank Holiday. And front of the Guardian. Starmer urged to avoid simplistic lurch to right after reform success. They're done, man. Which part of these idiots and these journalists and the Guardian is owned by a trust? Starmer urged to avoid simplistic lurch to the right after reform success. All of these stories, they'll be talking about it first thing in the morning, whether the BBC or commercial radio. Netanyahu in new threat to Houthis. Fan my brow. Netanyahu threatening somebody else so that he could stay a war prime minister and they can't depose him. They can't get him into court while he's doing that. Evil, evil, evil. And there are Israelis and there are Gazans and there's bound to be Houthis. Look, they've all got the nuclear weapons. Stop talking about. If you want it over and done with, just turn all the sand in the Middle East to glass. You do it with one bomb. 8 men arrested by anti-terror officers. That's going to be the big story of the day, I think. Please don't give up your Ukraine support now. What? 99-year-old war veteran who fought the Nazis thanks Britain, but urges, please don't give up your Ukraine support now. Nobody is. Nobody's threatened that. I mean, their Sniffy come out and said to the Donald, oh yeah, it was a brilliant conversation because he was put in his place by the Donald at the Vatican. Unless he's been allowed to keep more billions. But I've said to you before, cough, you wrong'un. Tell us how many hotels you own in Eilat. Tell us how many billions of dollars you've trousered, so to speak, and how many Bugattis has your missus got. King fears Harry will leak any reconciliation talks. Smart man. Smart man. A snake only sheds its skin and gets bigger. Labour hopes immigration crackdown can halt Reform UK. But as I asked you a little earlier, was it just immigration that made people vote for reform? And the majority of the answer was no. There was other policies. They don't get it. They don't understand it. They've looked at it and gone, well, how did this happen? Dunno. Well, somebody must know. Who's the head of communication? Dunno. Solar panels used by Manchester City and David Lloyd gyms linked to Chinese slave labour claims. Oops! So, Labour hopes immigration crackdown can halt Reform UK. It's over. The Labour Party's over. Tories are hanging on by their fingernails. And Kemi not good enough. She's got a year to turn it around. She's not going to. Because we've had enough of their bullshit. We've had enough of everything. Financial Times says Chinese exporters plot paths through third countries to dodge Trump tariffs. Brilliant! They're all at it, man. It's all about the Benjamins. Honestly, my voice is getting higher, I swear. So far, that's the... Let's have a look. That's the tomorrow's news today. I think that might be it. So I think we will round everything off at that. Thank you to everyone that's been part of the live this evening. Thank you for being there. Look, I think we've... what time is it? Blimey, nearly 2.5 hours. Other stuff coming, but the next live is going to be on Wednesday, 8 p.m, of course. It's Bank Holiday Monday. Enjoy it if you can, whatever you're doing, whether you're down the bottom of the garden or the allotment, planting out, because it's been a lovely weekend this weekend, and the garden centres have made an absolute killing. I hope that you've enjoyed this evening. It's good to know that we're aligned in many respects, but I don't want this channel to become an echo chamber. I want critical thinking. Alan, thank you. Exactly that. They lied about spam. I used to love spam. Look, when you're starving, you'll eat any shite. including spam, 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 spam. And there's the thing, when they're all talking about spam, some of the journalists are going, oh, it's tinned meat. Look, Monty Python did a fantastic sketch about spam, and you're too young to know fucking detail. Cheers, Nikki. Cheers, Des. Cheers, Jackie. Elizabeth Casey. Good to see you, Elizabeth and Vix Tex, and Ray Norton, and the old Bovril, and Napoleon Blown Apart. I don't know whether you're 9 hours, 8 hours behind us, Napoleon Blown Apart. Nicholas, we'll get a chance to catch up soon, don't worry. Terry Wookford, spam's great. I like spam. I love spam, me. Spam, 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 spam. Deep fry it. Mind you, in Scotland, they'll deep fry anything. So I hope everyone stays well. Look after yourselves. See you Wednesday for more. I'm going to keep an eye on stuff because it is a wonderful time to be alive. The Labour Party is dead. This parrot is no more. Hit the likes on the way out. If you have, you're wrong. And I'm not sure when the staff are back, but we'll get them from... I think all the Cardinals are going into their room sometime this week. So, yes, Andrew, James, and won't forget about Billy Shears. Look after yourselves, and I'll see you for the next live, Wednesday, 8 p.m. My name's Adrian Allen. Thank you for your likes. Smash them, your subscriptions, but most of all, your indulgence. And whatever you do and wherever you go, don't forget the Battenberg. See you Wednesday, 8 o'clock.